One of the most tragic stories in a crime series is that of Jamie's in the series Top Boy.
Everything that I do and all that I care about is the two of you.
A character who isn't simply your typical drug dealer, but also provides a multi-dimensional aspect, seeing a man switch from a nurturing carer to a ruthless killer in a single switch of scenes.
They see him, shoot him on sight no matter where he is. Finish him off!
Adopting evil and the moral traits to protect those he loves, whilst trying to become the top boy in the streets.
You gotta keep your dog on a short leash. If you think they're gonna bite you, you gotta put them down. Bro, every top boy needs to know when to make that move, alright?
Does he wear a mask of psychopathy, or is he truly cold-blooded? How far is he willing to go when going to war to protect his family?
Get the back! You don't want this one! I told you that.
Jamie, I swear to God, I'll bury you.
Jamie gives us an amazing story, at times showing good traits we could all adopt. But on the other hand, there's things he's done that suggest nothing more than a dark mind to analyze.
Where I come from, life is a risk. You either step up and take your chances when they come. If not, you ain't going nowhere.
Imagine this. You're 18 years old, living in East London, situated in a house full of love with your two parents and two younger brothers. The income isn't anything to brag about, but at least you all have each other. But then, all of a sudden, things start to fall apart.
Your dad came down with this cough, and he wanted to get checked out. He said he had pulmonary cancer. Yeah, they said he probably had it for years without even realizing. A few months later, Mum had some abdominal pains. Went to get checked out. Said you had stage 4 metastatic pancreatic cancer. And Dad died on a Sunday, Mum died on a Tuesday.
Jamie lost both of his parents to cancer, forcing him to become the legal guardian and sole provider for his two younger brothers, Aaron and Steph. The difficulty Jamie experiences after this is almost unfathomable unless you've experienced something similar. Not only is he grieving the loss of two parents who he looked up to so greatly, but he's forced to become the provider and responsible adult at such a young age. The environment of East London is heavily accustomed to poverty and violence, the main catalyst for the formation of gangs and crime. And with the promise of money, status and thrill, many teens and young adults take this path, one of them being Jamie.
Who are you?
Jamie, innit?
Shout me when you get the straps.
It's not explicitly shown whether Jamie got involved with the streets before or after his parents passed away. The two likely theories are that he either got groomed into the lifestyle at a young age and became a product of his environment, or he was a regular kid until his parents passed and he saw the roads as a way to make fast money to provide for his brothers. Regardless of which of these theories are true, when seeing Jamie, we see him endure the hardships of the streets for the promise of financial gain. The show catapults us 4 years after the passing of their parents, making Jamie approximately 22 and heavily involved in the streets. But the reason the story is so dynamic is because the viewpoint is constantly switched between Jamie with his gang and Jamie with his brothers. With his gang, the ZTs, he is ruthless. The ZTs had a drug supplier, the Turks, who had increased their prices due to inflation, and Jamie pursued the idea of leaving the Turks to find a cheaper plug. But by leave, he didn't mean a peaceful farewell. He found a new plug and murdered the Turks. This is the first murder we see Jamie commit, and it sets the tone for who he is. Someone willing to do anything for the sake of money. But just as we think the story is going to solely carry us through the blood-filled journey, we get shunted into Jamie's storyline with Aaron and Steph, and this is where we see the multi-dimensional aspect of Jamie, and what really makes his psychology a trick one to analyze.
It's called being a good dad. You ain't my dad, bro. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Listen, big man thing. See me, I'm your father, yeah? I'm your mother, I'm your older brother. you understand?
Jamie has fully embraced this role as a parental figure for his brothers, and despite what he spends his time doing, he does his best to ensure his brothers stray far away from following suit.
So he's doing good.
There's room for improvement.
Alright, he's gonna improve. Trust me. Ain't that right, little man?
Yes. This first is important, you know. I need to get that. What's wrong with him, fam? That's what I'm trying to tell you. He ain't like us, man, fam. Different breed. So I'm proud of him. Proud of you, bro, for real.
Jamie displays love in the form of provision and protection, not just for his brothers, but for anyone else he respects and has love for. A parallel shown between his two lives. The ZTs had a gang leader named Modi, but he got sentenced to 18 years in prison after Jamie allegedly snitched on him. When Modi went away, he opted for his leadership to be passed down to a gang member named Leighton, but Jamie quickly and assertively ensured that he was the one the gang respected as the leader, and on a consistent basis, proving he is someone who likes responsibility.
I'm running the f***ing fields, cuz.
Nah, you ain't.
In resemblance, the passing of his parents 4 years prior forced him to take on responsibility for his brothers and their home, something which he quickly became accustomed to. When his parents went away, Jamie had to step up to be a leader, make money, and protect. When Modi went away, Jamie took it upon himself to step up and be a leader, make money, and protect. But this protection goes to lengths the average person never usually steeps to. One day, he offered to take out a girl named Tilly. She eventually fell for his charm and agreed. But whilst out with her, a rival gang member, Cam, fired shots at Jamie and hit Tilly's neck, hospitalizing her. Jamie never hesitated and immediately retaliates. The first time only causing minor injury with punches to the face. But when he catches Cam again, he kidnaps him, beats him to death, and sends a message to Cam's gang members.
Remember what I said, innit? When I make the call, you lot come, yeah? Or come now. Yo, these men are stunting, you know, like...
Jamie's character is cemented as a cold-blooded killer, and that he will do whatever it takes for the sake of protection. A true test of character arises when Jamie is met with Deshane Hill, a notorious drug dealer who used to sell drugs in the neighbour area, who returned to selling and has conflicting territory with Jamie. Despite Jamie knowing who Deshane is and what he was formerly capable of, he tells Deshane that he's running things and is unafraid of confrontation should there be a problem.
Just do it on your ends. If you need food, come to me.
So you think I'm here to get your permission to shop food? You're here to get mine.
Let me give you a piece of advice. Do what the f I'm telling you to do. You won't get hurt. And you can make some money.
Do you know the last person that said that to me? I'll tell you, except I can't pronounce them Turkish names. You want to sell food, you sell my food. You don't sell nothing at all. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
It was at this point I questioned whether Jamie was putting up a front. Hear me out. From the way he tries his hardest to protect Aaron and Steph from the streets shows he doesn't glorify it himself. He makes sure Steph has 100% attendance in school, and he reinforces Aaron with praise for doing well at university. He knows the dangers of the streets, but also believes without it he can't provide. This is where I believe he understood the need to reinvent himself. There's the idea that people do this when they go to university.
It's still not much, and then you get to uni, and the same as every school kid, you know, you'd go home for summer and you'd be like, I'm gonna reinvent myself and I'm gonna be the cool kid. So I arrive at university, and that was a good intersection of a new opportunity to be a new person, and also maybe a little bit more social ability.
This insinuates that no matter what negative traits you had prior to university, maybe you were weak and timid, maybe you got bullied, maybe you were socially anxious, etc., there's a high likelihood that no one will know who you were, and therefore you can create a new persona you think is more desirable. I feel as though Jamie has undergone the same thing, not to say he was a nerd or a feeble kid, but probably just above average. But he understood in the streets you have to be at the top in order to make the most money, which he seriously needed. So he created this assertive persona, he snitched on Modi to get him out the way, and forced his way into leadership, appearing dominant time and time again. This is where Jamie's battle of cognitive dissonance comes into play. Being the leader of a drug-dealing gang of course doesn't come without violence. When Jamie killed the Turks, it's unclear whether that was his first kill, but he seemed to be in shock for just that night before reaffirming in his mind that this was necessary to make money and provide for his brothers. Cognitive dissonance is a mental conflict that occurs when your beliefs don't line up with your actions. Jamie probably understands that murder is bad, but he still murders. One of the most effective ways to overcome cognitive dissonance is justification. Jamie's love for his brothers and need to provide allows him to justify all of his criminal acts. The reason I believe this is because Jamie constantly mentions the idea of opportunity awareness when it comes to money.
Where I come from, life is a risk. You either step up and take your chances when they come. If not, you ain't going nowhere.
Opportunities like this come once in a lifetime. It's either we take it now, we spend the rest of our life living in regret.
I don't know, maybe it's just me, but that's how I view him. On the other hand, you do have to be built a certain way to live this life, and maybe the trauma of losing his parents genuinely made him cold-blooded. Jamie realizes the need to let Deshane and his summer house gang know that it's more than just words, and orders his gang to attack Deshane's youngers with acid attacks and stabbings. Another member of ZT named Leighton, who hated listening to Jamie, went against Jamie's orders and shot at Deshane's right-hand man Sully, another stone cold killer, who survives and immediately wants retaliation. This sparks a war between Summer House and the ZTs, with Jamie having even more responsibility, leading his team to war. Jamie isn't a character who necessarily wants to be violent, but knows the only way to maximize profits is by taking out the opposition. His psychology is very business-based, but there has to be a line drawn between morality. How far is he willing to go? But then we go back to Jamie and his brothers. It's crazy to see one side of him contributing to murders and assaults like it's nothing, and the next time we see him, he's taking Steph to parents' evening and actually showing passion towards his education.
Well, it's not going very well, is it?
I'm looking at the scores here you've given him, they ain't very good.
Well, I'm afraid Stefan isn't putting in the effort.
How come? Because all the other teachers giving him high marks. What that says to me is you're the odd one out. Do you get it? Which means it ain't about him, it's about you. Stefan also says you're very sarcastic. Nobody likes sarcasm. Do you understand?
Well, maybe we could look at some of Stefan's marks again.
He parents Aaron, giving him relationship advice and tells him how to be a man.
Growing up, do you understand? Teen. It's not about the years you got. It's about the head you got. You got a little boy's head, Aaron. So when I ask you something, yeah, you answer, innit?
It would appear his heart is good, but his morals are disorientated. Due to the conflict with Summer House, Jamie has to move out temporarily, leaving Aaron in charge. But this was the first major time Jamie let his protection slip. With Jamie away, Steph slipped into trouble with his best friend Ats, a situation that could have got him seriously hurt or worse. And at this point, Jamie's purpose overlaps. He's going to war to make more money to care for his brothers, but then he neglects his brothers and fails to be present and protect them. The problem is Jamie trying to live two different lives. He hides the street life from his brothers, doing it in secret and having to change identities when he leaves the door and comes back in. That's the problem with trying to live two different lives. One day, the repercussions of one life will punish you in the other. This rings true when the war is brought to an end after Deshane and Summer House force Ats to hide a bag of guns and drugs in Aaron's room, causing both him and Steph to get forcefully arrested, a moment that visibly traumatizes them and brews a resentment towards Jamie for letting that happen to them.
What's wrong with you, bruv? This is your fault, bruv. This is all your fault. Promise them, man. Promise them. Promise Mum and Dad you're gonna take care of us.
But when Jamie found out what had happened, we saw his real vulnerability. He broke down crying on a park bench and was comforted by his friend Kit. But this scene shows more than meets the eye. Firstly, the importance of Kit. Kit is Jamie's childhood friend, and is the only other man Jamie is comfortable being emotional around. Jamie would never cry in front of the other gang members or his opposition, but having a strong emotional bond allowed his true emotions to surface and unveil that front I believe he was holding up. The park bench he's on isn't just a random bench, and it wasn't by chance he was sitting there. This bench is the same bench Jamie and his brothers would go to on their parents' birthdays in remembrance of them.
Yeah, man. That's why we come here, innit? On their birthdays.
Happy birthday, Mum.
Happy birthday, Mum.
A reason he's here might be due to the realization that he's letting his parents down. He got so invested in the streets, he forgot what was really important and feels guilt and shame. He's forced to take the charge for his brothers and faces hefty charges. This results in the start of major change.
Fuck's sake, man. What? Chill.
Judge sees that. Drop the case real quick. You answer the next question right, send it to your lawyer tonight.
What's the question?
After you get out, you come and work for me.
Jamie's priorities were realigned, survival and protection. But now his only option was to work for his enemy Deshane, but he didn't really have another option as he couldn't care for his brothers from a prison cell. After being in prison for 6 months, Jamie was released. However, after his release, his relationship with Steph began to deteriorate. To Jamie's surprise, Steph showed no extrinsic excitement after Jamie came home.
Yo! Well, you can't get up off your ass and give your brother a hug at the dawn, huh?
I'm banging in the middle of the match.
What the Where you going?
To do homework.
Jamie then tries to drop Steph to school, which Steph despises him for.
Fam, you ain't gotta walk me in. I ain't a kid anymore.
It's my first morning home, yo. See you later, Steph, yeah?
My theory is that Steph is now struggling with attachment issues. From before Jamie went into prison, Steph was constantly craving his attention and his affection. A repeated occurrence was Steph asking Jamie to wake him up to say goodnight when he gets home.
Hey, Jamie, wait. Hey, Jamie, can you wake me up? Will you come in? I can't go sleep unless you come in.
But if I have to wake you up, that must mean you're already asleep, Steph.
Aaron had mentioned that when their parents passed, Steph was young and didn't really understand. So growing up with Jamie is beyond just brotherly love. But Jamie's original abandonment to go to war with Deshane, followed by his 6-month stint in prison, damaged Steph's attachment bond and his feelings towards Jamie had turned cold. But regardless of how Steph feels, Jamie doesn't stop parenting, and his slightly reformed self teaches Steph about morality and forgiveness, whether he wants to hear it or not.
But I was there for Apps. It was him that wasn't there for me.
Listen, Steph. If you're close to someone and they make a mistake, and they didn't mean to, or they only done it because they had to, then you gotta take that on board, because we all make mistakes, right? But if that person is sorry for their mistake, then you have to be big enough and strong enough to just let it go. And that's what's correct. That's what's good morals.
But then we get brought back to the reality that Jamie didn't get out of prison for free. This wasn't a favor. Deshane had Jamie under his thumb. The agreement was that Jamie works for him and does whatever he asks, and opposing could have fatal consequences. When talking to Kit, Jamie makes it clear that he's willing to drop his pride if it meant winning long term, showing his rationality, and Deshane sends him on a mission to fix problems with the plug in Morocco. An unfamiliar environment, dealing with people he doesn't know, and the fact he's there as a worker opposed to as a boss gives us a chance to see a unique side to Jamie. We see him form a short temporary friendship with a homeless Moroccan boy. The boy was originally pestering Jamie, trying to sell him some lollipops, but as he persisted, Jamie eventually gave him cash and took the time out to see the boy's situation and became very sympathetic, trying to brighten up the boy's day, eventually giving the boy a watch to use as currency to travel on a boat to see his lost family.
Yo, little man, here, this is for you. Yeah, this is for you, okay? This for you.
Shukran.
Yes, I hope this gets you to your sister's safe, okay?
Thank you. Shukran.
Okay.
I believe that this is the real Jamie. When it came to putting up a front, there was another possibility I didn't mention. The first possibility was the one already considered, that Jamie is a loving, regular guy putting up a front in the streets in order to make money to protect his brothers. But the second possibility is that Jamie is truly a ruthless killer who puts up a loving front for his brothers for the sake of his parents. But with no one to front for, no reason to help or be sympathetic at all, Jamie reveals the former hypothesis. Jamie is a good-hearted man, just lost in a dark game. Before heading back to London, however, Jamie lets the ball slip. We know his desire for power and to be the top boy is strong, but his situational awareness leads to his eventual downfall.
Just one more thing. Obviously right now, I'm chatting to you for my boss, yeah? But it might come a time real soon I'm gonna chat to you just for me, innit?
Jamie goes behind Deshane's back in order to secure his financial future, but the man he's doing it with, Juan Albueno, is an untrustworthy character. So when Sully comes down to Morocco to kill Juan due to him charging silly prices, Jamie got exposed prior to the shots being taken.
Nieto, you're very quiet tonight. Last time you had plenty to say for yourself. Big talk, big plans.
Big plans, yeah? But what are you talking about? You think I don't know? Know what? You and Juan cozying up?
This causes Sully to lose any glimpse of trust he had for Jamie, which was already pretty non-existent. Jamie messed up, and the consequences would eventually be paid. Upon return to London, Jamie sees his relationship with Aaron also start to deteriorate. Aaron had been really stressed with university and had his exams coming up soon, and hated that Jamie had left parental responsibilities of Steph to him without providing a reason. Whilst Jamie was in Morocco, Steph had got into some minor trouble, and Jamie immediately blamed Aaron, tipping him over the edge and retaliating.
Bro, I left you in charge, Aaron. You're supposed to stop him from getting into trouble and shit, bro. Like, if I'm not here, you're man of the house.
I'm tired of your shit, man. It's not every day try to draw me out. Let man know. I ain't trying to hear this.
Bro, where you get when I'm talking to you? Bro, what fucking touch me, man? Bro, are you fucking done? Huh? Get on me, man. After everything I've done for you, lot. Please, man.
With the relationships of his brothers hanging by a thread, Jamie could have used the support of his best friend Kit, but what Jamie found out truly changed the course of his life. We covered how At snaked Jamie and his brothers on Deshane and Summerhouse's orders, and was a vital reason Jamie is where he is. But as Jamie had preached to Steph, forgiveness is a virtue, and he held no grudge against him, as he was a young vulnerable kid. But prior to Jamie's release from prison, At had been murdered at the hands of Kit, as revenge for what he did to the family. Kit only ordered for him to be kidnapped and taught a lesson, but things went wrong and Atz was stabbed to death. Jamie was for a long time oblivious to who the killer was, but after Deshane put the dots together, Jamie was told to investigate, and after Jamie questioned Kit and found out it was him, Deshane's orders really put Jamie's mind into question.
Kit's gotta go.
What do you mean?
You know what I fucking mean, man. Kit's gotta go. You're doing it today. If Kit ain't dead by tomorrow, then you are.
Jamie's first instinct was loyalty and told Kit about Deshane's orders. They then planned to move to Cardiff with Aaron and Steph, which is more than 3 hours away. But after breaking the news to Aaron and Steph, the thread their relationship was hanging on was severed.
So just go home and pack the things that you used to need. When I call you, just be ready to move in. I've got my exams this week. Oh, what, do you forget about that? Most important exams I'm gonna take, and you're trying to spring this on me now. Figure a way around it. What do you mean find a way around it? Well, there's no way around it. I'm not going. Aaron, this ain't about you right now. Yo, where you going, Steph, man? Chill. Hey, Steph, man.
Nah, bro. It's long.
Hey, Aaron, chill, man.
Chill.
Jamie's mind was conflicted. He had an extremely difficult choice in front of him. Kit had been loyal and by his side for a very long time, but Jamie had to pick between whose life to ruin, his brothers or Kit's.
Cuz, what's with the glove? Bro!
Jamie killed his best friend to protect his brothers. He did it to avoid a life of running and hiding. A life where his brothers resent him for ruining their lives, and because he was forced to by Deshane. This led to Deshane instilling his trust in Jamie, believing he's loyal, and decided that Jamie would take the reins in the future.
I do believe Jamie is our fucking retirement plan, bro.
Jamie then continued to sell drugs, Aaron graduated, and his relationship with both brothers improved. Life was going as well as it could for Jamie considering the circumstances, and he finally got to restore some stability in his hectic life. And just like that, Sully murdered Jamie, and his story came to an unexpected end. I think you can understand why analysing Jamie's psychology is so complex. His behaviour in the streets and his behaviour elsewhere are complete polar opposites. He deviates from a typical drug-dealing criminal that we've seen in the past. So I'm going to analyse his character's psychology in the different areas that make him unique. A path I didn't cover too thoroughly was Jamie's relationship with Lizzie. Lizzie was the supplier Jamie switched to before he took out the Turks. An older Irish lady who originally seemed about business, but on multiple occasions, Jamie and Lizzie slept together after conducting their business ordeals. But something interesting happened. We're typically accustomed to a character like Jamie's, someone who appears obsessed with power, see women as disposable pleasures. They pursue, they indulge, and they leave. Jamie was different. After sleeping together, Lizzie would swiftly redress and get on with her day. But Jamie pursued conversation. He asked Lizzie why she couldn't just relax with him and actually build some sort of connection.
I'm struggling to understand what the problem is here. Why can't we just chill for an hour?
Not your girlfriend, Jamie.
Look, I'm married. I'm older. I don't know what it is you're looking for, but you're not going to find it with me, okay?
It could have been an act, but it seemed pretty genuine. Like he desired a sense of belonging outside of the gang life. You could say he feels belonging in the gang, but relating this to my previous viewpoint that Jamie has a front, his connection with them isn't 100% genuine. And in Lizzie, he sees an opportunity to have a vulnerable vibe with, to pull down this mask, but Lizzie rejects. This deviates from what's typically associated with narcissistic or sociopathic characters, who favour quick pleasures over meaningful relationships. When Jamie strips down his layer of being a gangster, he truly has some beautiful emotions. Common media likes to glorify men being hard-headed, emotionless beings, but Jamie is proof that there is richness in human connection. First and foremost, his dedication to fulfill his promise to his parents that he'd take care of his brothers, and the suggestion that his brothers are his priority is not something we see often. We often see criminals completely neglect their families in pursuit of power, resulting in broken homes and unstable relationships. But Jamie constantly had his brothers at the forefront of his mind. Secondly, Jamie's temporary relationship with the little Moroccan boy. I'm sorry I keep calling him that. If he has a name, I've looked everywhere for it, but I couldn't find it. But their short-lived relationship is also a thing of beauty. Jamie, living in struggle himself, is able to understand the little boy's struggle. As mentioned, the boy originally tries to sell Jamie lollipops to make some money, and after grafting, Jamie finally gives in and gives him some change, but then he takes Jamie to his little man-made miniature hut, and Jamie's tone shifts as he realizes some people have more struggle to them than meets the surface.
This is your home? You sleep here? This is your sister you was talking about, yeah? The one in Spain?
Yes.
Okay, look. This is my brothers. This is Aaron. This is Stefan. Aaron, Stefan, my brothers, yeah?
Jamie then goes on a separate side quest to get the boy to fulfill his desire, to get to Spain and see his sister, which Jamie makes possible, offering his watch as we saw earlier. The boy needed currency to get on a boat to Spain, and with the watch he was able to get on that boat. Jamie's compassion again is a behaviour contradictory to that of a drug-dealing murderer. He's sympathetic, empathetic, but can also switch it off at any moment for the gang. Most importantly, we need to talk about his criminal behavior. Being vulnerable and compassionate doesn't make murder forgivable. If we pan back to the murder section of the board, you'll see that Jamie's committed multiple murders during his time on screen. The only one we didn't cover was Jamal, an acquaintance of Sully who Jamie shot in the head during their war prior to Jamie's imprisonment. You don't have to be insane to murder someone. Sometimes the motive to murder can be self-defense, revenge, or forced upon you, but in Jamie's case, it was justified in his mind as a means of protection. He murdered the Turks so that they didn't retaliate on the ZTs for switching plugs. Protection. He murdered Cam as retaliation for almost killing Tilly. Protection. He murdered Jamal as Sully and Cole were out to murder Jamie. Protection. He murdered Kit because the alternative was ruining his brothers' lives or being killed by Deshane. Protection. Morally, these murders are far from acceptable. It's one of the worst crimes you can commit. All the murders are related to him being in a gang, which isn't necessarily forced upon him, but seemed like an only way out to him. An only way to provide. A reason Top Boy is so great is because we cover multiple stories, one of those stories being At's, Steph's former best friend. At's story is actually important to Jamie's story in quite an implicit manner. We're introduced to Jamie as a drug dealer from the very start, with no explanation to how he got involved. With At's, he's originally portrayed as an innocent, high-achieving school kid, with no intentions of wrongdoings. But tragedy strikes At's the same way it did with Jamie's parents. At's mother was facing unfair deportation and subsequently fired from her job. Being a single mother to At's, he watched her quickly begin to struggle financially and mentally. He wanted to help, and his mind quickly turned to selling burgers with Steph, from which he made some small change to give her. But he realized that this wouldn't be enough. So with no other visible opportunities around him, he spoke to the Summer House gang members and asked if he could sell drugs for them in order to make money for his mother. And over time, he had to commit more criminal acts for the sake of survival, not necessarily knowing what it would entail. And further down the line, this led to his premature death at the age of 14. Jamie's case is similar. He's part of a gang to provide for his brothers, trying to survive and replace his parents. And murdering is just a given when you're part of the streets. Jamie uses this purpose to balance out the morality of murder. He never does it unless there's a risk or a threat. And just like At's, it all caught up to him and his life ended with an untimely death. I don't think Jamie is a psychopath or even a sociopath, not even a narcissist. Everything he does, no matter how evil, stems out of Jamie's love for family. However, this is our perspective viewing the show where we can see Jamie's whole life. If Jamie was a real person and a criminal psychologist was actually investigating him, they would probably just see the murders and the crimes and say that he's a sociopath. And we see the multi-dimensional person that Jamie is. And that's why Jamie's story is so unique.
I can tell you my problems, meditating my silence. But I keep pushing my pen, rotating my stylus. Brokenness feeling like sin, now no Creflo dollar. Used to be left on red, now all the girls go holler. Now all the girls go follow. All the fake friends gon' pile up. I need peace to borrow, get that shit right back tomorrow.